take it.
No.
We did
Then I will mess up.
We did a little bit of Dad's.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is the 70s hall. Do you know what a 70 is?
He's of the quorum of 70.
A 70 is a missionary. Like in the biblical times, this is what Jesus said, and it says in Luke 10:1. The Lord appointed another 70 also, and sent them two and two before his face into every city and place. And so we had missionaries even then, and just like today, we have missionaries in the MTC. MTCs are everywhere. They're throughout the world. And we are sending missionaries, and they are preaching the gospel everywhere in the world, and that is what Heavenly Father has wanted all of us to do, is to be missionaries and to teach. And so the 70s hall is like an MTC. And what happened when the saints were here in 1840s, there was 490 70s, and they wanted a place that they could teach spiritually and study about the scriptures in a place. And so they decided that they wanted to build the 70s hall. And Edward Hunter from Philadelphia decided that he would donate the land. So he donated this land to the church. And Brigham Young told them to build. And so they started to build. And they got the floor on, they got the west wall done, and a tornado came, blew it down, smashed the floor. And those 70s were very discouraged because they were also building their homes, building a temple, plus they were making the bricks for the 70s hall, and they were spending their money on the necessities that the cultural hall needed, or the 70s hall needed. So they didn't think they were going to build it again. Brigham Young went to them and said, I know this is one of the most almonds that there has ever happened, is the wall falling in. And he said, but the devil's mad, and he does not want us to have blessings, and he knows that you 70s would receive blessings because you would be sending the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the world. And so he asked them nicely if they would please double their efforts and rebuild. So they doubled their efforts, plus they used 2 bricks instead of 1. They doubled the wall in case there happened to be another tornado that came. And they got when they went in May of 1844, they got all of it enclosed. And then they started working on the inside and getting the inside done. And it took them until December 31st, 1844, and Brigham Young did the dedicatorial prayer. And this is what he said. May it be filled with thy spirit, that it may be called the gate of heaven, and may all who enter within its doors be made to feel thy love and power. And so when they came, this was mainly what they had, was where they were being taught. And the second floor, it had artifacts and curiosities. And like the artifacts and curiosities were that the missionaries that had already been on missions, or 70s, they would bring back curiosities or artifacts from that country, because the gospel was being spread throughout Canada, Palestine, and the Pacific Islands. And so that's what was upstairs. Then there was also a doctor's office, a Dr. Bailey, and he had a doctor's office on the far end. There's a room up there where he had an office. And then there was the library, and that was Dr. Lee, John D. Lee, the secretary of the 70s, is the one that did the category of the library books up there. Now, the library books that are up there now are not from that time, or they're from that time, but we don't know if they were any that he had at the time. There was also a George Watt that knew shorthand, so he was teaching the people shorthand, the missionaries, so that they would be able, when they went out, just make it, and wouldn't make it so long because paper was expensive and they didn't have a lot of necessities for that. Now what we have here, we do a lot of the vignettes in here during the summertime. The pageant uses it, but Brigham Young does his vignette, he does it in here. And we had the 70s here just a little while ago from Salt Lake, and they had a meeting held in here. Upstairs now is the artifacts that they found here when they were restoring this place. And also there's the library up there, and it has the books that, if you have a relative that lives here during the 70s, he will be in that book. And you'll just look it up, and then you can sign the ancestor book. When the church started to rebuild this in the 1960s, this building wasn't here at all. It was just like the field and back of us. What happened when the saints left, a minister bought it. I think it was for $10.50. And he was a Methodist minister, and he was going to use it for him to preach, but he didn't. Protestant, or Presbyterian group is the one that took it over for a while and used it as a school. And once they got the school done, their school built in town, then there was nobody used it, and it was just sort of vacant and locked up, and then people started coming in and taking out the things that they could use for materials and stuff. And so in 1903, they tore it down. And so there was nothing here. This was just a field. And from Brigham Young's journals and from John D. Lee's journals, they learned of this being here. So the church started digging and finding. They found the actual foundation. So it's like, if you have a firm foundation in your life of the gospel of Jesus Christ, you know that it's solid and it stays. And this is what this foundation was here and stayed. And so then we rebuild it. And it's like you can rebuild your testimony and you can become strong and be faithful. And so they really built it just like it was. And so now if you'd like to, we can go upstairs. Yeah. Would you like to go upstairs? See some artifacts?